This is one I could never have prepared for, but I'm going to do my best. As we begin our service, I'd like to ask my flower people to pass these bouquets around, and as the bouquet comes past you, please take one flower from the bouquet. That's the perfect one. As our service progresses, I'm going to ask that the flower that you hold symbolize your love for Scott. And let it hold your prayers for him. After we conclude, you can decide how best to honor Scott with your blossom. Perhaps you will add it to the communal vases that we have up here that are coincidentally just the right size for those flowers. Perhaps you'll take your flower home with you for your own vase. Perhaps you will toss it into the lake or another body of water to carry your love along. Or you might even give it to a stranger. Whatever you decide to do, please let it be done with love. Scott loved his garden, and he loved each of us. We humans have sensed the mystery of death and the pain of grief since time immemorial, and so we mark the veil of death by commemorating the passing of those that we love. This afternoon, we join together to honor the memory of Scott Vallancourt, a truly remarkable, dear man. We come together to say farewell to a relative, to honor a friend, and to comfort each other in our loss. We gather to affirm and give thanks for Scott's life, and to make a step in our grieving. A step toward living our lives as he would wish, with joy and with humor, and maybe a little sass. Today we remember and celebrate Scott. There are possibly things that we should have said that we never did, and maybe things that we said and should not have. We may have missed saying goodbye. We may have not known. We may have not known. Yet our dear ones are always here with us. They are free of criticism. They've risen beyond our worldly issues. They are here in the blooming flowers, in the unexpected moment. Many memories precious and warm that touch the heart, maybe draw forth a tear. Other memories challenging, but touching the heart just as deeply. Time may dull those memories, but the joy and the warmth will remain. Octavia Butler, one of Scott's favorite authors, wrote, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change." Buddhism teaches us that one of the principal characteristics of human existence is impermanence. And yet, as humans, we desperately try to avoid change. We fight it at every turning. While death is the most profound change that we can encounter, it is also the greatest teacher. We will all die, all of us. It's the law. And yet we live our lives in such a way that a casual observer would look at us and think that we had all the time in the world. This way of being has its good and bad points. But ultimately, we must live our lives in our own way. Scott certainly did. And now we will go on, finding our path in a world that is a little less bright than it was. This piece was written by Mary Oliver, who at the end of her life lived in P-Town. As for life, I'm humbled. I'm without words sufficient to say how it has been hard as flint and soft as a spring pond. Both of these, over and long, pale afternoons besides, and so many mysteries, beautiful as eggs in a nest, still unhatched, though warm and watched over by something I've never seen, a tree angel, perhaps, or a ghost of holiness. Every day I walk out into the world to be dazzled, then to be reflective. It suffices. It is all comfort, along with human love, dog love, water love, little serpent love, sunburst love, or love for that smallest of birds flying among the scarlet flowers. There is hardly time to think about stopping and laying down at last to the long afterlife, to the tenderness yet to come, when time will brim over the singular pond and become forever. And we will pretend to melt away into the leaves. As for death, I can't wait to be a hummingbird. Can you? Another of Scott's favorite authors, Patricia Briggs, wrote, "Every moment spent in his company had been a moment closer to this. Had it been worth it in the face of his friend's death?" He thought of all the experiences they had shared. He felt the huge hole that his death was carving in his spirit, a hole that was even now filling with pain. Had it been worth it? "I am so grateful to have had you as my friend," he told Joseph. He would not have given up any of those times to avoid this pain of separation, let alone all of them. Yes, it had been worth it. You have enriched the world with your spirit, my friend. Shakespeare admonished us to give sorrow words. I know that all of you have stories to tell about Scott. Well, today is the good day for sharing your tales. I'd like to ask Scott's niece, Shannon, to speak a few words.
I'm going to try my best to get through this. Scott was my person. I met Scott at my house when Tim brought him over for a holiday dinner. 14-year-old me thought he was the coolest person ever. He had curly hair, a black leather jacket, and was just so at ease among all these strangers. I had painted my nails metallic blue, and he told me that he really liked them. That's it. I was in love with this person, by the way. My uncle wasn't out yet, so I had no idea. But thankfully, from that moment on, Scott became part of my family. He was the adult that I could talk to about anything, and he always made me, and I'm sure many of you, feel like you were the most interesting person in the world, and that whatever you wanted to talk about, he was fully invested in listening to you. When my parents moved to Florida, Tim and Scott became my de facto emergency contacts. Scott filled this position with honor and without batting an eye. Whenever I needed to go to the emergency room, he was right by my side. During my first pregnancy with Patrick, this was actually quite often. And poor Scott, he was thought to be my husband, although he made sure to let any of the cute male nurses know. Definitely was not. And only the dutifully gay uncle. I know he really understood how much it meant to me that he was my uncle, and just how proud and honored it made me when he added me as family on Facebook. My kids will fight me for the ability to claim him as their uncle too. Every time I say that I'm the niece, they yell, "No, we're the nephews." Tim and Scott came to their birthday dinners and listened to endless questions or stories that have never seemed to have a point. suffered through the confusion of which one was which, as small humans who see people together often get confused over names. And I thanked Tim and Scott for being in my life, and that my kids know they were married, and that meant that they kissed each other. That made Scott very proud. Whenever they went to P-Town, they always brought back shirts for each of the kids that said, "I love my uncles." When I was finally able to sort myself out and take a look at who I was, Scott was the first person I came out to. He was one of the people I could talk to about identity and parenting and love, and he and I could sit and chat about how I was raising my boys. I like to think I was raising good humans in his eyes, and I am going to miss having him with me as I grow as a person and a mom. I miss him, and I hope you all have fond memories, and we hold him with us. You want to Sorry.
Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words? It's okay. Public speaking is not for everybody. I often say not everybody loves the sound of their own voice as much as I love mine. Tim, what do you think?
Anybody before me? Okay, you asked for it.
We have
I got it.
37 boxes of Kleenex. You're good.
Yep.
Oh. Well, if you don't mind, I'm just going to put on one of his sweatshirts. First, okay. All right. I want to take this moment and thank you all for coming to Scott's celebration. As you can imagine, I'm having a hard time with the word celebrate. As I told some of you, please, you celebrate. But as for me, I'll just be in the corner in a heap, sobbing. Well, I'm going to try and compose myself just for a minute. I feel the need to honor Scott with a few remarks, maybe a memory or two. As I'm writing this, I'm not sure which direction to take this little speech, so bear with me if it seems jumbled and hopefully not rambling. Oh, and if I start to break down, do nothing. Let me pull myself together. I'm determined to deliver this today. So let me begin again by thanking you all for coming. And for those who come late, tell them there was only a matinee today. There was no later show. That they all missed the greatest speech ever given. It was that good. I would love to mention everyone who Pastor Scott's in my life, but I'm afraid that would read like a phone book. There are just so many of you, even people that are not here but are here within spirit. Just know that he and I loved and appreciated your friendship and special bonds.
What did they
I do have one shout out though, I must admit.
What did they
One shout out here to Swim Monkey. John, our cohort in our New York City and P-Town crimes. Okay, family. Scott's dad, John, and his stepmom, Joyce. Heartbroken, could not be here today. Living in Florida, but unfortunately ill of health. But they are thinking of us now, sending love, healing prayers, and big hugs, and thank yous to all of you. Also want to mention Scott's stepbrothers, Scott Michaud of Virginia, Jimmy Michaud of Georgia, and stepsister Karen Adams of New Hampshire, and their families. They all send love and light. Now, on a closer note, he and I would like to want to give love and thanks to the people who became his family officially on October 12th, 2012. Side note, this is not in the speech. He had lost his wedding ring like maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Couldn't find it. I was in his room rummaging around just for something else. And on the bureau, where I've looked countless of times, on October 12th, no lie, on October 12th, there was his wedding ring sitting at the top of the bureau. So I said, thank you.
What is?
Thank you for giving it back. Okay, so on October 12th. I will mention their names so as to tell them how much they mean to me and Scott, and in no particular order. Our sister Liz, home in Wales, UK, very much heartbroken over the loss of her Scotty. Our brother John and Ellie, his wife, my sister, up from Florida for this unbelievable event. Our niece Shannon, who just gave the most amazing speech I've ever heard. Her husband Sean, and their 4 boys, Patrick, Liam, Ethan, and Dylan. Just know and remember that Uncle Scott loved and still loves you very much, as well as I do, okay guys? And our nephew Christopher, also up from Florida, his wife April, still in Florida, taking care of their 4 boys, Zachary, Connor, Jackson, and Travis. Again, Uncle Scott loves you all, as so do I. "26 years ago, you welcomed him with open arms. You made him feel loved and wanted. He cherished your friendships, your many conversations, Shannon, and your all-encompassing embrace into family. You made his world, as mine, so much the richer." Right. This is where I'm going to lose it. Like I said, I would want to thank and mention you all. But there is one person I have to stop on and mention, for this person was on this journey with Scott and myself for the past 11 months. She made it to many, if not all, his doctor appointments, taking copious notes, because I and Scott, overwhelmed and emotional, listened, but what doctors said went in one ear and out the other. This way we could calmly review what she said by the doctors and what needed to be done. She and her husband Terry helped us in so many ways that I lost count. We owe them our sanity, love, and if I say so, if I may be so melodramatic, life. They made things easier for Scott and I. Everyone should have someone in their lives like them to make the hard easy. I'm talking, of course, about Donna, Katsuradis, maker of miracles, friend, and adopted sister. Yes, sister. For only a family member would have done what you did for Scott and myself. and not so fun things either, and all that entailed with his illness. Donna was listed as sister in the hospital forms, so she was able to go to the ER and the ICU with him. Don't tell the hospital. She was there in the end with me as I said goodbye to Scott. So Donna, Terry, are the Reese family listening? Welcome officially to the family. You stuck with us. And me, want you to know how much I love and appreciate you. The family will now give you a Laurel and Hardy handshake. You're in for it now. Hope you enjoy circuses. Now, on to Scott. The laugh, that smile, that twinkle in his eyes, that voice. I melted and still do. You are and forever will be the most handsome. His kindness, his gentleness, his caring, his protective personality, his giving generosity, his intelligence, his spirit. I think we will all miss these qualities. 26 years, 10 years married. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We have 2 wedding anniversaries, performed both by Donna. There was one in May 2012, the legal. And then there was the one in October for family and friends. Thinking on it now, how lucky am I? 2 anniversaries. He must have loved me to do it twice. How do you encompass everything in a short that's quickly turning into a long speech? 26 years, it's hard. We really liked each other's company. As I just learned from my sister Liz, he told her that he would rather be with me than anything else. That Tim made life fun. Well, Scott, if I never said it, you did the same for me. We were Scott and Tim. We were never separate for any long period of time, including hospital stays. I was there prior to work and on my days off. And just let me tell you, there was a lot of hospital stays. It's hard to wrap my head around that now it's just Tim and not and. Okay, I'm going to write things down now. I told you, I just wrote this as I'm doing it. I'm going to write things down now, sort of free flow, so in no particular order. Provincetown, our home and heart away from home, our happy place. Gifford House, Atlantic House, the Little Bar, Post Office Cafe, Bayside Betsy's, the tea dance at the boat slip, Mooncusser Tattoo, Crown and Anchor, Bobby Weatherby, the club, Herring Cove, Fresh Air, the beach, looking for shells and flat stones, Cape Cod Bay, Room 1. Now memory. I hope soon to be a happy memory, but right now it's... All these were special to us. Broadway. I don't know if you noticed there's a lot of playbills over there, especially musicals. Because dramas annoy us and ruin our night. Keep it gay, keep it gay, keep it gay. I brought some of the playbills of the shows we saw, and that's not all of them. It was pure happiness in the dark. After what show we saw, we made our way to the stage door and waited for the show stars to come out. Because we both believed the evening wasn't complete. So we waited by the stage door, collecting signatures on the playbills. He also became my photographer and took many a happy memory of me standing next to the actors and actresses. Thinking about it now, he was always behind the camera, not in front, the way he liked it. He had just as much fun as I did. We chatted with many stars over the years, David Hyde Pierce, Very friendly man. Actually, extremely friendly man. He hung out with us for a while. Jim Parsons, we have a piece of artwork from him hanging in the house. Valerie Harper, we were on the same schedule with Valerie Harper. It seemed we went to 3 shows that year, and she was at every single show as an audience member. On the 3rd show, I felt I knew Valerie Harper. So there I am. Miss Harper comes out, and I'm like, Miss Harper, Miss Harper, Miss Harper. She quickly runs away from the crazy person. Scott's keeled over with laughter, going, what the hell are you going to do with her if you caught her? Yeah, Scott's all over that. I wrote that down here. Megan Mullally. You may know her as Karen from Will and Grace. He accidentally stepped on her foot. She was not happy. Sarah Jessica Parker telling me to shut up. Shh. Because I noticed when we went to see the Matthew Broderick, who she's married to, show Nice Work If You Can Get It. We're sitting all the way at the end on the aisle. There's one seat left here behind us. And I'm like looking around, because I'm always looking around to see who's in the audience, because there's always somebody in the audience. It's fun. And as the light went down, I look, and someone sneaks in and sits right behind us. And I turn, and I'm like, oh. And she's like, shh. I'm like, oh. Sarah Jessica Parker's behind us. Elaine Stritch, she invited us on the stage to talk to her and sign. And there was that one time, that rare form when all gay people love Barbra Streisand. Yeah. We were at one of the theaters, and all we heard in the audience was, it's Barbra, it's Barbra, it's Barbra, it's Barbra. It was the murmur going throughout the entire audience. And Scott and I are looking at her, what the who? And we went, Barbra who? And of course the audience member goes, Streisand! And we're like, oh, Barbra Streisand's in the audience? She was in the audience, but we'd be damned if we could locate her. And tons of other Broadway tells. And one more, I don't know if you noticed, Dame Angela Lansbury, she's up there. We met her. Wonderful lady. She was in her late 80s, maybe early 90s. She was doing Blythe Spirit. She came out of that theater. It was mid-February. I don't know if you've been in New York City mid-February, but it's freezing, and those buildings cause a wind tunnel. And she stopped and talked and chatted with everybody. So rest in ghost light, Mrs. Fletcher. Okay, I'm supposed to insert something here, so I'm going to turn to this page. Okay, he wasn't an actor nor a musician, and had a voice only Harvey Firestein or cigarette-smoking, gin-soaked bluesy could love. But Scott was a great audience and cheerleader. He loved being in a theater, be it live, show, or movie. He enjoyed the escapism in the dark, and if there was singing and dancing, all the more joyful. Cheerleader, though throughout the years I have found myself now and again in front of people, usually croaking out a melody. He loved my singing, and I can picture him now driving P-Town with Broadway tunes playing, and me belting along, him smiling, and yes, trying to sing along. Yes, that voice. It was not good. But I would give anything to hear that once more. He was not only my supporter in that, but in everything throughout our life. He was very protective and never wanted any harm or hurt to befall me. Besides me 100%, even in time of troubles. Gardening, which you mentioned. The man had a green thumb. He loved his garden. These actually are the last flowers from his garden. Seriously, the last flowers that are actually blooming. I figured I'd bring them today, show them off in the last vase that he actually ever put flowers in. Dream. I have a dream. That's not going to happen. Every winter he would sit and plan out on paper what he wanted and how he wanted it to look for the coming season. I can't stress enough how much he loved the garden. I think these would be my most cherished memories, going with him to various nurseries, picking out the flowers with him, and just seeing him puttering around the beds tending to his plants. It saddens me to think that it's fall, and I must go into his garden and do a cleanup and close down for the winter. I guess it sort of coincides with the meaning of the occasion. Okay. Tattoos. He had many. I don't know what the final count was. He got most of them from Christian, owner of Mooncuster Tattoo in Provincetown. He would save all year to get a new tattoo while on vacation. His body was a canvas, and Christian's work, if I do say myself, is colorful, bright, and visually wonderful. I'm sure wherever Scott is, he is showing off his ink, and his sexy legs and feet, and plugging Mooncuster Tattoo, Christian, Provincetown, Massachusetts. Shout out to Christian. Cooking. Oh my God, cooking. Another passion. He loved to cook. We loved to eat. He was great at both. Before he was sick, I can't think of a day he was not in the kitchen, making something delicious. And every day when I got home from work, there would be something left over from that night's kitchen adventure. I would never heat it up. I would and still do just eat it cold out of the refrigerator. This drove him crazy. How can you eat it cold? Me. Hot, cold. It's yummy either way. His cooking was just that good. Oh, and a side note, things that drive him crazy because it made me think of him in the kitchen. Open cabinets. He hated open cabinets in the kitchen. I'm just pointing that out. Love for animals. He would stop and watch nature shows on TV. He loved animals and learning about them. Hours of happiness with the BBC and Sir David Attenborough. But in life we had pets. Right now we have 3 cats, Josie, Tess, and Romeo. Whenever he was in the hospital, "How are the cats?" was one of the first questions he asked me. I hope he's not only surrounded by loved ones, but all the pets and furry friends that he had that have passed too. He was most happiest and content with a curled up friend purring on his lap. Camping. He liked to camp. Me, not so much. So every so often he would head off to Pennsylvania and go camping at Hillside Campgrounds, which is a gay campground, by the way. So shout out to Hillside and his friends and acquaintances there. Big mushy hot heart. He loved movies and TV shows that made him cry. I can't begin to tell you how many times he watched The Blind Side, Sealed Magnolias, Beastly, and others, and always would cry. I almost think it was cathartic for him. Same with TV shows. I mean, who cries during Modern Family? The wedding story always got to him. Tears, and I mean tears. Me trying to compose myself because seeing him cry would make me cry. I usually could compose myself, obviously not today. He'd be very proud of me. Where he turned to me with tears and laughing through them said, "You're heartless." I guess I proved him wrong on that. I'm full of heart and it's broken. And quickly keeping with the TV and movie theme, Auntie Mame, the Rosalind Russell version, My Fair Lady, Christmas in Connecticut, The Birdcage, besides all sci-fi movies and TV shows. These movies he loved and watched over and over again. He owned them on DVD, VHS. But if he was channel surfing, he would stomp on those movies, if playing, and watch them again. TV was CNN, MSNBC, Judge Judy, Bones, Golden Girls, Star Trek, Picard, and Janeway, and other reincarnations of that franchise. Cooking with Lydia, America's Test Kitchen, Antiques Roadshow, Finding Your Roots, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Big Bang, Friends, Two and a Half Men, Frasier. He loved to watch, be entertained. He had many favorite episodes and searched them out so he could watch them again. Channel surfing, don't get me started on channel surfing. The man had the clicker in his hand and I was like, I think I never saw a full program. Scott has had many jobs over the years. Bailey's Banks and Biddle, Jewelry Designs, Cardis, Trader Joe's. But after a life-changing event of his sister Susan passing in 2006, he found his passion, massage. It was never a job for him. He enjoyed what he did. He loved to make people feel better through touch. He again was most happiest with human-to-human contact in massage, but also throughout his life. He worked for himself, and by all accounts, was an excellent massage therapist. I still get calls on his phone for appointments, and it's October 16th. I got a phone call yesterday, actually. On a personal note, I will miss my foot massages. As he jokingly looked at them, he would say, "How do you get feet like this? In war?" Day visits to New York City, the Village, art museums, art in general. He loved art, loved to look at it, loved to try and create it. Be it painting ceramics, art glass, there are a few pieces back there that he made. Trying to paint and draw. He made Larry, the funny-looking skeleton, kind of like thingamabobby next to the bear. Hell, his garden was art. He was art. Beadings, making necklaces and bracelets. Working on jigsaw puzzles. He enjoyed quiet evenings with a movie or TV show in the background, working on a puzzle. From his spot on the couch, while one of the furry denizens would step on his work, trying to figure out what he was doing. Oh, and puzzle pieces. They made such great cat toys. Reading, sci-fi books. Hysterical that you mentioned Octavia Butler. Octavia Butler, that name sticks with me. He read every one of her books. He told me he enjoyed them all but one. And for the life of me, I can't remember which one that is. But he didn't stop with her. He was constantly with a book. Collecting. He had a fascination with boxes and lids, boxes with lids, and vases. Many of his vases are around here today. Looking around the house, I think vases won out. He would always stop wherever we were, and if there was a pretty vase to look at and admire it, he commented on the color and shape, and sometimes would buy. There seems to be a number of hobnail and jack in the pulpit vases in the house. Don't get me started on the milk glass or jadeite. As I said, he loved art. We also collected over 26 years pretty pictures. Some of the others on our walls, and some of them are here right now. Richard Stabert, Annie Dew, Michael Bryant, R.E. Kennedy, Jan McPherson, and Mandis, the dog art that we have on the wall. And that's what we called it. Time to get another dog for the art up for the wall. The common denominator, back to the beginning, Provincetown. As I've already said, our happy place. Fellow friends, family, I could go on. I guess I lied when I said a short speech at the beginning. I hope you enjoyed the highlights, some highlights of Scott's life. It's hard to put in words the person's soul. His passion seems so flat when written on paper. He was here. He loved, and he had a blast. Think of him often. Embrace what memory or memories he left you with. Okay, Scott. I'll shut up now. But not before I say thank you for the adventures. Thank you for our life together. Thank you for your undying love. So now in place of our adventures, I place our adventures in one of your beautiful boxes with lid, relegating it to a lovely memory. And in Scott's voice, they say, Scott's voice, "What's up, monkey? Sweet babu, sweet pickle. Try not to be sad. I will always be with you, and I will always be with them, our friends and family. My life with you, it was a blast. Think of me often. I will visit, perhaps in person, but most likely in dreams, and we will smile and laugh again. To that I say, it was an honor to call you friend, lover, husband, especially husband, the best thing we ever did. Now, everyone, again, I thank you. Scott thanks you. Our families thank you. And with this, I leave with this quote. I heard it every day as I left the house. Okay, Scott, you ready? Have fun storming the castle. Have fun storming the castle. And I thank you all. Now will someone make me laugh?
Give me a minute. It might take me a minute before I can do that. Something I feel guilty about all the time these days. I think Scott didn't realize how much he was loved. That's the thing about love, though. No matter how much we try to communicate our love for each other, there's so often a failure in that communication. Perhaps it's true that we didn't show our love enough or say it quite right or get the best combination of words and actions, but we must always remember that the other side of communication is the receiving end. Sometimes everything we do and say is just exactly right, and the other person is simply not ready to receive our love, or perceive the depth of it, or believe they deserve it. We all have demons, large and small. We shouldn't judge ours or another's on any scale. We are all doing the best we can. Scott did the best he could. Everyone here did the best we could for him. And that's all any of us can ask of ourselves, to be able to look back at the end of the day and know that we did our best. But don't get me wrong, we all have doubts on these fronts. There's no sense looking back with what we know now and judging our past actions. Because the truth is, if we could have done better in that moment, we would have. If we had the knowledge that we have now, we might have acted differently. In the moment, each and every moment of our lives, we're doing the best that we can. Are there times when we wish we were capable of doing more? Absolutely, of course. But sometimes it's all we can do to give the kids a bowl of cereal and plop them in front of the television. Sometimes all we can do is say yes when we should say no, or vice versa. And when all is said and done, here we are, maybe wishing that we could have done other than what we did, maybe wishing that somebody could have done something differently. Scott was one to always put other people first. Who are we to say that this horrible situation isn't exactly the right set of circumstances for something magical to happen? The mystery of life is just that. It's a mystery beyond the comprehension of mere mortals like us. Yet it's our instinct to ask why. In fact, I believe a childhood development expert will tell you the child's first question is no, the second question is why. And we never stop asking that question through our lives. We try to make sense of it all. We rail against things that seem just too much to comprehend. And that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? To have the wisdom to know the difference between what we can change and what we cannot. And to live our lives open to the love that is available to us at every moment in those darkest of places. That really is our mission. As St. Elizabeth of the Trinity wrote at the end of her life, let yourself be loved. The poet Frank Owen said, for many of us, loss makes us aware poignantly and painfully that such an experience binds all of humanity together. In a moment of loss, we are granted an immense opportunity to grow the seeds of compassion within us. Let us bear witness to our sorrow and our grieving for missing Scott, but more so to our joy, our great fortune for having known Scott. Queen Elizabeth, who could not bear a world without Scott for more than 2 days. Seriously, it was like almost to the hour. It's a little weird. She famously said, grief is the price we pay for love. It is because we love that we mourn our departed so deeply. We know that death is the destination of all of our journeys, and that while we will always mourn our loved ones, it is better that we celebrate that we knew them at all. This is our spiritual work, to mark our losses, to celebrate our love. It is not the work of funeral directors or ministers, it is the work of family and friends. We who are the professionals are here to assist. Ultimately, though, the work of celebrating a life well lived falls to those who loved. I know that if you loved Scott, you're equal to the task. Let your laughter gentle your tears. No doubt he is still here laughing with us. Let your tears flow. They will gentle and cleanse the pain and longing. Remember with fondness what was. Build on the past. Let it be a foundation to move forward into the future with the knowledge that Scott was always there for us and will continue to be, just in a different form. These final words were written by John O'Donohue. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. When your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the currach of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a pale yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. As we close, may we all be granted the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Our service is ended. May peace keep your hearts and minds, and may you let yourself be loved. Shannon, we need music.
Okay.